MovieWeb.com.
You are portraying Marjane in a semi-autobiographical film directed by Marjane. So how did you get attached to the project, and then how did you convince her that you were the one to portray her?
Well, I got attached to the project because I knew the books that I really loved. I convinced her. I have no idea how I convinced her truly, because I contacted her, which I never do usually, but probably because it was an animation, I was less shy, to go forward and say, hey, if the casting's not over, I would love to be part of it. So we had a couple of drinks, and she said, okay. And I said, well, don't you want to test or something? And she said, no, it's going to be fine. And, she really knows what she wants. So hopefully I trusted her on the fact that if I had not been the right person, she would have changed. That's it.
What did you find was the biggest challenge in doing this film?
I was kind of scared of doing, when she wanted me to do the teenage voice, and I was like, are you sure? Maybe you should hire someone who's really 14, because if it sounds like an adult trying to be younger, it's going to be terrible. But she said, no, you can do it. So we tried to do the teenage, by not completely changing the voice, but just bringing a different rhythm and stuff like that. And the narration also was a big thing, because there's a lot of narration in the film. And narration can be tricky because it can turn into a bedtime story, people can fall asleep. And so we tried to introduce some irony and drama and all the things that are in the film in the narration. So those were the kind of 2 points that I was a bit shaky about, but it turned out fine. I had very good directors leading me, Marjane and Vincent were really, really good.
Yeah, I found the story most insightful in getting the point of view of a typical Iranian woman, which I've never seen before on film.
Yeah.
And did you learn anything from the graphic novels or from doing the film?
Well, of course I knew about Iran and the situation there before reading the books, and we talk about Iran a lot. But the thing is, the media has talked about Iran as if it was this big entity and they never get into details. What I found really interesting in the way she wanted to show it is that she starts from the point of view of a little girl, and she tells the story of a country through the eyes of the little girl, which I think is very interesting. Because, of course, we always hear about Iran in a very caricatural way, but in the end, it's, normal beings, just normal human beings, just like you and me. They like to dance, they fall in love, they have their heart broken. Of course, they are submitted to a horrific regime, but they don't agree with that regime. They try to, to find a freedom in that.
And what would you like the audience to take away from experiencing this film?
Well, I would like them, in fact, to see Iran as different in that the way you see it on the news usually, and to see that you have real tough characters there who try to, to find a freedom, even though it's not an easy thing to do. And that's what Marjane did in her true life, The parents, when they saw that she was this very rebellious little girl, they knew there was no possibility for her to grow up in that. So it's a story of exile. So it's not just about Iran. It could be the story of anybody who's had to go through exile, leaving your country when you're about 14 or 15 years old to Europe, for example, which is a very different culture, and to fight for your freedom because it's the only way you can stay alive. I think I would love people to understand that, if you live in Iran, it doesn't mean you agree with what they impose you. You just try to find a way to have your individuality, even though the regime would want everybody to be the same.